Finally, we've got some historically accurate dinosaurs in historically accurate 1980s America. Hello everyone and welcome back to Real Future Reviews. Today we're talking about the end of Oak Street. This sees a neighborhood, or like kind of a group of neighborhoods in 1980s America, being sent all the way back to the Jurassic period, or sometime during when dinosaurs roamed the earth. It's not really specific, and the neighborhood has to survive, but specifically the family of people that we are following. I don't really know how much I have to say about this movie. We'll start with the bad and then get with the good. The bad is that while I think there are some good setups in this movie, a lot of them don't really get paid off that well or paid off at all. And there's just some scenes of weird tonal whiplash. There's one specifically that I don't even know if I want to say in this review, but when you see the scene, you will know what I am talking about. Karif and I are going to end up doing a review of this movie together in some podcasts, and I'll talk about that in another video. But it is a scene that Karif often says when he sees like something cringe in a movie, it makes him want to die. This was a scene that made me want to die, but I think he will watch it and say, "Oh, dude, that's awesome." But in a way where it's not actually awesome and it's like super cringe and stupid. And there was just a feeling of the script didn't feel like it was the final version. It felt like this could have gone through one or two or three more iterations before it like really locked down something solid. It just feels like a lot of missed potential. It feels like a lot of, not even like mystery box, because I think the overall mystery, which I won't talk about in this review just because spoilers, but I think the overall mystery is fine. I'm okay with it being the way that it is. Hopefully that doesn't give too much of that away, but the details, the characters themselves, it just feels like missed potential. It just feels like there are interesting ideas. So let me give an example of something that was set up to maybe be interesting, but then just never really gets paid off, and it's just kind of in a confusing way, if anything. The brother character in this movie, his name is Brian. Brian sticks a stick through the spokes of this kid's bike tire while he's riding the bike, and the kid flips off and he breaks his arm. And now that kid's older brother is pissed at Brian. Well, you think, okay, well, maybe Brian's kind of a dick. Maybe he's got like issues, but that's like really the only bad thing he ever does. Like, it's not like there's like some sort of character arc where Brian has to learn not to be a dick to people or like be a little prankster or whatever. But now this older brother character is pissed off, and there's like a little scene towards the beginning where he's chasing Brian on his bike, and then Brian hides and the older brother guy goes away. And then after everyone's been transported to the Jurassic period, Brian leaves the house to go look for their dog. The dog's name is Starbuck. Ironically, the only character in this movie whose name I actually really remember is the dog's name. Take that how you will. Boy, that sure makes me want to make an AI-generated dog podcast for a dog character that's in this movie for maybe like 3 minutes of total screen time and is like CGI most of the time, weirdly. Anyway, back to the point. Brian is walking through the dark, and then the older brother character that's pissed off just so happens to be like outside in the shadows next to this random house, and then he sees Brian and he chases after Brian. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you up." And I'm like, dude, I feel like there are bigger issues right now. Why are you choosing now to do this like violent act? Because he tackles Brian to the ground, starts punching him in his face, and then the younger brother that got hurt is there with his cast, and he's like, "Oh, stop, you're gonna kill him, you're gonna kill him," even though the older brother really wasn't like doing anything that would kill Brian. And then the older brother's like, "Oh, you hurt my brother." And then the younger brother convinces the older brother to stop hitting Brian. And then he stands up and he's like, "I don't know what we're gonna do." And then he runs off, and then that's it. That's the end of that subplot. Why even have it? It's so weird and confusing. Continuing with Brian, again, he has this bow and arrow, like he's been practicing with it kind of, but they never really show him practicing with it. He just kind of has it and is carrying it around. Then you think, oh, well, maybe he's gonna like use it at a very pivotal point in the movie and it's gonna pay off. And he kind of does, but it's not as like weighty as maybe it should be. He saves his mom from getting eaten by an admittedly terrifying looking dinosaur. I'll get into that when I get into the good stuff. But it doesn't really have like a bunch of weight to it. And there's just a lot of things like that. The mom is writing what is essentially a fan fiction about how she wants to leave her fucking family. Never really explored about why she wants to do that. She just wants to, and it's brought up like once and then never again. I mean, she talks about how she's not going to abandon her family now, and she kind of has that arc, but I don't really understand why she was going to leave in the first place. And then her husband, who's played by Ewan McGregor, and I believe the mom is played by Anne Hathaway. But the husband, he has like this little bottle of whiskey in his garage that after they get transported to the Jurassic period, he takes a little bit of a swig out of. And you're like, oh, maybe this guy's a secret alcoholic, because the mom is kind of writing the story in secret, or I guess it's in secret. She's just writing it in her basement. And then the mom later is like, oh, I smell a little bit of whiskey on your breath. You're not drinking, are you? And that's the end of it. There's no like, does the dad have a drinking problem? I don't know. It's never mentioned if he has a drinking problem. It doesn't seem like he does. And that doesn't have any payoff, and that doesn't go anywhere. There's so many things. And it's stuff that we've seen before. All this setup is like, oh, I've seen this stuff in other movies and stories, but like, do something interesting with it. Don't just have the setup there and do nothing. And that's what I'm talking about when I say I feel like this movie needed 2 or 3 more drafts. They really needed to tighten some things up and really have more weight to the things that they set up, because there's some interesting ideas. Like, I legitimately thought the fighting between the mom and the dad, which is, it's like one scene, was interesting. There were a lot of interesting points. Okay, this mom that kind of maybe regretting having this family. Why? Let's go into that. Never does. Okay, the dad lost his job. Why did he lose his job? What's going on with that? Never really goes into it. And it's just so many things like that. And because of that, it just really brings this movie down in a lot of places. However, there are also a lot of things that I did enjoy, namely the dinosaurs. There are some freaky ass dinosaurs in this movie. I mentioned earlier how Brian saves his mom from a dinosaur with the bow and arrow, and that thing is freaky as hell. I won't say what it is. I won't say what a lot of these dinosaurs are, but there are some freaky ass dinosaurs that make some freaky ass sounds. And there are a lot of bodies in this movie. These dinosaurs kill the fuck out of a lot of people. You don't really get a whole bunch of time to see these other characters, these other people in the neighborhood. It really focuses on that main family and this other random neighbor girl that just moved into the neighborhood. And that's like another thing that's like set up and then like really shittily paid off. But the dinosaurs were great. Maybe the VFX are not the best I've ever seen, but I thought the designs were cool. I thought they were creepy. There were moments of suspense and intensity, and really that just kind of permeates the whole film of this. Oh my God, they're in this fuck shit situation. What are they going to do? How are they going to get out of this? Like, there's a kind of a lot of existential stuff in this film. That's kind of where the excitement ends. There's a few interesting shots that kind of don't really get like brought back up in the film. I kind of parody a scene at the beginning of this review where there's like these shots where a character's really close to the camera and then there's someone in the background. And then the movie kind of just stops doing that as it goes along. It just feels like it, once again, talking about the negative stuff, I'm supposed to be talking about the good. It's just like a lot of little things that could have been tightened up to make this movie a little bit better. But the dinosaurs were great. There was a legitimately creepy moment when the neighborhood first gets moved back in time, where you hear this like blood-curdling scream and someone getting killed, and it's like all outside the house, and I was like, oh my God, that's like terrifying, the dinosaur noises. And what I believe are they're probably not raptors. I don't know too much about dinosaurs, but the feathered raptor guys are pretty spooky creatures here. I overall enjoyed like the way this movie looked, like the color grading and stuff. Some of the cinematography was really interesting. The way it handles suspense is pretty good for the most part. And while I am getting a little sick and tired of us digging back into that 80s nostalgia, 80s bros, it was 36 years ago. You can let it go now. We are past 80s nostalgia. Stranger Things and its consequences. But this movie was able to take place in the 80s while not being like aggressive about, oh, it's the 80s, look at the 80s stuff, look at all the 80s stuff. It almost feels incidental, it taking place in the 80s, but it still is kind of annoying that like, oh, we're going back to the 80s stuff again. This movie does feel like it's trying to kind of be a little Spielbergian. It's like a mix of Spielberg and like what J.J. Abrams was trying to do with Super 8, but there really isn't like a friend group that's like the ragtag kids. I don't know. It's a little all over the place. Like I said, this movie has a lot of setups, and I think that's its biggest problem. Like every positive they have to say about the movie, outside of the dinosaurs, because that doesn't really need a whole bunch of setup, it just kind of happens. It's like every positive about this movie is kind of marred with an asterisk that says, yeah, but it wasn't really paid off all that well. So take it how you will. I'm making this movie sound like it's the worst thing ever, and it really isn't. It's not the worst movie I've seen this year, and it doesn't really frustrate me in the way that The Odyssey did, but it's not really one that I'm saying you absolutely have to go run out and see. This movie is supposed to come out in IMAX. Obviously, with The Odyssey doing very well and Spider-Man doing very well, the IMAX theaters are kind of crowded, though I believe there's an AMC theater in somewhere nearish me that's showing it in IMAX, but I was like, I'm not going to drive all the way out there to see this movie in IMAX. And I think this movie would have been pretty cool in IMAX, but I don't know if I'd really drive out of my way to see it that way. With that being said, it's just okay. It feels like there's just so much missed potential, and I guess that's like kind of a frustrating thing about it. Even if there's like some things that I'd seen a lot before, you could at least take those ideas and do something new and interesting with it. Show a little bit more of these characters having arcs. There are some interesting things that do subvert expectations, and this movie does a very good job at setting up suspense and terror and putting the characters in these kind of no-win fucked up situations and just having people die. Like just unapologetically. A lot of this movie kind of feels like that moment in Kong Skull Island where the guy's like, I'm gonna go sacrifice myself to save my men, and then the skull monster just whips the guy into a mountain and he explodes. That's it. That's all I gotta say about this. It was okay. Maybe catch it on matinee or something. It's not the worst thing in the world, and if you like dinosaur movies, you're gonna have a great time. Big dino fans out there are going to be like, yo, I came, I saw dinosaurs fucking shit up, I loved it. Hey, good for those guys. But for me, I'm probably not going to think about this movie ever again, outside of talking to Karif about it. So yeah, all in all, I think I should have just done what Karif did and gone see Paw Patrol the Dino movie. That movie might have been better than this one, I don't know. I didn't see it. I thought Karif was a little bit cuckoo for going to go see both these dinosaur movies on the same day. But maybe he's the only one with a brain here. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this review, and I will see you all next time when Coyote vs. Acme is the next one, and it's getting really, really good reviews. So I guess David Zaslav's about to have a lot of egg on his face. Not that he cares, he's still a millionaire.